Welcome to a new episode of Chemistry Kitchen. I'm your host, David Gazzola. Over in the kitchen, we got esteemed chef, Mr. McLeod.
Hey David, thanks for having me on the show.
And over in the lab, the most real, legitimate chemist you will ever meet, Topher KG.
Hello. Don't ask me about my credentials.
And as for today's show, we have cookies. Shut up.
Alright, so first we're going to want to add our dry ingredients. So that consists of 320 grams of flour, or 2.5 cups of flour. Next, we're going to want to add 2.84 grams of baking soda. And now finally, 5.69 grams of table salt. Now just give that a good mix. Then we want to add 21.3 grams of butter and 106 grams of brown sugar, with 131 grams of white sugar. So now I just want to add 100 grams of eggs and 4.73 grams of vanilla extract. Mix this up. Now I want to add our 158 grams of butter. Alright, now mix until homogeneous. And finally, the most important part, 340 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Next, you're going to want to lay out 2 tablespoons worth of cookie dough with about a spacing of 2 inches between each one. Now, you're going to want to put them in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius for about 12 minutes or until golden brown. Alright, 12 minutes are up. Let's take them out.
James, those are so good cookies. I'm so glad you joined, even though we're not paying you. This is great.
There really are some good cookies. Wait, what?
Anyways, over to Topher. So, Topher, tell me, what should we be expecting from these cookies in terms of, reactions?
Alright, when baking cookies, a couple of important chemical reactions occur. The first main one occurs at 92 degrees Fahrenheit or 33 degrees Celsius if you're a normal person. At this temperature, the butter inside of the cookies is going to start to melt, and it's going to make the cookies flatten out like pancakes. But don't worry, they're not pancakes, they're still cookies. Now, this happens because cookies have a lot of butter, which is what we like to call in the business an emulsion. So an emulsion is basically just when two things that normally don't mix. So in the case of butter, water and fat are able to mix because of milk solids that are in the milk butter is made out of. Now, when they're in the high heat of the oven, they're going to start to melt, and these bonds are going to start to break. Now, with this released water, what's going to happen is this water is actually going to turn to steam, and then the steam is going to rise up through the cookie, creating all these itty-bitty bumps all along the top. Like how in Apollo 18, spiders are the reason the moon has craters. And I know you've watched Apollo 18. I know you have. So as the cookies spread out, the thinner edges are going to start to cook faster than the thick interiors. Now because they're cooking faster, they're going to set up hard, which is going to prevent your cookies from becoming one single extremely large cookie, the exact dimensions of your baking pan. Alright, so the next major chemical event occurs at 144 degrees Fahrenheit or 62 degrees Celsius. At this point, the egg proteins that are in your cookies are beginning to unravel. When they unravel, they're going to start to bind to each other, which is going to cause the once liquidy egg to solidify significantly. Alright, at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius, this is where the water is going to start evaporating out. At this point, the water, when it evaporates out, it's going to create these tiny little pockets of air, which in the finished product are going to make your cookie much crispier and flakier. At the same time, whatever leavening you went with is going to mix with any acids that are in your cookies, and they're going to create CO2 gas as they react, which once again is going to make the cookies crispy and flaky. Okay, yet another major chemical reaction occurs at 310 Fahrenheit or 154 degrees Celsius. This reaction is called the Maillard reaction, named after Louis Maillard. Except no, it's not. I made that guy up. Except no, I didn't. That's actually who it's named after. Bet you didn't know that. Unless you did. In which case, this whole joke is pointless. Anyway, the Maillard reaction is a reaction that occurs when proteins and sugars start to break down, and then they start to bind to each other. And then, so these binds form into ring-like structures that reflect the delicious brown light that your eyes love to absorb. As this occurs, a whole bunch of flavorful and nice-smelling compounds form, leading to the mouth-wateringly delicious cookies that we're so familiar with. Okay, so finally, at a heat of 356 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius, alright, occurs a chemical reaction that we call caramelization, or caramelization if you're nasty. Sugar starts to break down, and then it starts to reform into new compounds that make up your favorite treat. It's called caramel. Caramel. Alright, listen. Once all of these chemical reactions have occurred, and your cookies are at your preferred level of doneness, you can bring them out to cool. When you let the cookies cool, any melted sugar that didn't break down and reform into a new particle is going to solidify back into normal sugar, and this will help the cookies gain some structure. At the same time, any steam that didn't fully evaporate is going to reform into water again. Now, this all is saying that you have to let your cookies cool for at least 10 minutes when you take them out of the oven, alright? Have you ever had a cookie right after it came out of the oven? No, it doesn't work. They're too crumbly. Of course, this could be fixed. There's a way to cool them down quicker, you know? But that doesn't exist. Cookies are cookies. They don't cool down any faster. Unless, of course, the government was, I don't know, hiding it from us. But why would the government... I've cracked it! I've cracked the code! Don't you see? It's all connected! The government...
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure to tune in next week where we will be covering